Hi there once again, and welcome to another Expresso mechanic tutorial. And this is episode 19 in the series Expresso Nuts and Bolts. In this one we're going to be looking at logic gates and we'll fully explain how they work. So if you're not sure about the difference between your AND, your exclusive OR, and your not exclusive OR, this is the tutorial for you. That's what we're going to be about in this one. So without further ado, let's see if we can make this happen. Before we actually get into the meat of this, let's just take a quick look at the Expresso expression that I've got here. I'm not going to build this with you, but I'll just explain how this works. Basically, I've got my Expresso null pulled in here. Now on the null, I've got some user data. So if we go into our user data, manage user data, we can see what we've actually got. At the top, I've got function, and this is basically integers with radio buttons, 0 through 5, and a list of the various functions that can be found within the Boole node. I've also got my cube height and my sphere height in a range of 0 to 100 and steps of 1. So that's what's in there, and we can see that's how these are going to work. Now 0 through 5 is important because with our bool here, we've got the function menu and we've got the various functions in there. And on this occasion, they do start at 0 and end at 5. So that worked out perfectly well for a numeric order. Now the question that we're asking, and we want to know if both of these are true to make our bool work at any given time. We've got two compares, and both are set to equal to 50. If we check this one, we can see that they're both the same. They can be anything. You could have one greater than 50, one less than 50. It doesn't matter what they're set to. As long as the bool gets the result that it wants, everything will work fine. And then the output of the bool is just passed to a text spline. I've got my sphere height and my cube height set up over here, and they're being passed through the cube, through the sphere, to a cube height and a sphere height text spline. And then my function here, the way I did this, they're both the actual bool node, but the way I did that, I selected this and I dragged in this operator, and that allows you to get to the function. So you've got to do that if you want to rebuild this. And then basically the functions, I've got, they're a value between 0 and 5. So I've got a condition with 6 inputs here, and the condition is set to a data type of string, and then I've got the various functions in here, and they're simply passed to a function text spline. And that's all there is to it. It's relatively simple. So if you wish to rebuild this, that's the way you go about doing it. But as I say, I'm just using this really as a visual aid. I've just created that for that reason. Okay, let's get into the meat of this and see how it works. You'll no doubt be familiar with the AND gate because I've used it in a number of my tutorials. So if you have come across this elsewhere, you'll know what we're doing with this. So we've got two inputs with a bool node, which is what this is, but it's just set to the AND function. Two inputs and one output. And if both inputs are true, the output will be true. Now at the moment, this is set up so that we've got 50 and 50. And that's why we've got an output that's true. If we move either one of them, so now our cube is at 44, the output is false. Similarly, if we set them back up, get them equal again, we're true. If we move our sphere above 50, again, we get an output of false. And if we move it below, the same is going to be true. So both the inputs must be the same in order to give us our true input or output value, I should say. That's the AND. So the AND is a really straightforward one. It's just exactly what you think it would be. Let's take a look at the OR. Now, The OR is one or the other of them can be 50, and we'll get a true output. So if we set this one back to 50 now, do we get a false output? No, because it's one or the other or both of them. So if both are true, then this is true. And again, if we just move this one above 50, we still get the same result. We've still got a true result. But if they're both less than or greater than 50, we get a false output. So that's the OR. Let's take a look at the exclusive OR. That's going to be our next port of call. Now this is interesting because the exclusive OR, if we just set our cube to 50, we get a true output. And we can do the same if we just move that back, if we set our sphere height to 50, we get a true output. But if we set them both to 50, we get a false output. So the deal here is one or the other, but not both of them. That's the key thing. One or the other can be 50, but if they both are, we get a false output. And of course, if we set them both below 50 or above 50, or a combination of the two, we get a false output. So that's the exclusive OR. Moving on from here, we've got the NAND, or the not AND. Let's select that. This does the direct opposite of the AND. So if we were to set both of these to 50, and at the moment we can see that we've got a true output because we've got one of them is set to 50 and one is 29, and it's okay with that. But let's set this one to 50, and now we get a false output. So it's doing the direct opposite of the AND. If they're both 50, the output is false. If one or the other of them is 50, it's true. Let's see what happens when we move them both below 50. We still get a true output. So that's the NAND. It's the direct opposite of the AND. Now the next one is the NOR, which is the direct opposite of the OR. So let's set this one up. If we select this one, we'll set the cube to 50, false. If we set both to 50, false. Set the sphere to 50, false. But if both of them are above or below 50, true. So that's the way the NOR works, the direct opposite of the OR. And our final scenario is the NEX OR, or not exclusive OR. And this is a very interesting one. So let's select that. Now, if we were to set both of these to 50, one doesn't do anything, so one or the other, well, it's going to be false. But if we set both to 50, we get a true output because it's the direct opposite of the exclusive OR. The exclusive OR is one or the other, but not both. This, if it is both, we do get a true output. If we go one above, it's false. If we go one or the other below, false. But what happens if we set them both below? Now we get a true output. So if neither are 50, we get a true output. And if both are 50, we get a true output. So that's quite an interesting one. You know, can you think of a scenario where you might use that? I've never come across a scenario yet where I might use that, actually. But I have used the AND, the OR, and I've used the exclusive OR. The others, I've not actually come across scenarios where I could use them yet. But that's not to say that I won't. There certainly are scenarios where all of these could be used. And that's perhaps a challenge for you. See if you can think of something. See if you can come up with a way to incorporate these things in your own projects and get them going. And of course, another thing you can think about is daisy chaining these together, because you can use them in combinations to get really, really powerful scenarios going. So the logic gates, they're actually quite simple, really, when you think about it. What they actually do is they're simple functions, but if you start daisy chaining them together, you can create some very, very complex scenarios. And of course, when you use them with other Expresso nodes, you can create some quite complex scenarios just by using them individually, actually. And there's a few, as I say, a few of my tutorials where I do actually use them. So be sure to check a few of those out. But anyway, It's a short tutorial, this one, because I've basically shown you everything that I wanted to in this one, and you've seen how the various different logic gates actually work within the Boole node. So, as I say, see if you can find a few scenarios where you can use them within your own projects, and I wish you the best of luck with that. Well, that just about brings us to the end of this tutorial. And as always, I really hope you've enjoyed this one and that it's given you a few ideas for things that you may be able to incorporate in your own projects. And if you have enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and of course, ring the bell. And wherever you happen to be on social media, please do share this video, because I really do need those views, and all this good stuff really does help keep the channel moving in the right direction. But anyway, that just about brings the curtain down on this one, so I'll see you very soon on the next tutorial.